Good afternoon, everyone. Well, if you're following Faith Goldy for mayor, if you've been following the mayoral debate at all, you'll know that Faith Goldy is in it, and she's polling third behind Tory and Keesmaat. Well, she tried to get on the stage today at the arts debate and was removed by police. So we'll get to that video of that in a minute, and we're going to talk about John Tory's media connections, because that's a story in and of itself. I think that's a huge story all by itself. Okay, so here's Miss Goldy's tweet. Quote, "Fake news. I was never invited to today's debate. No note to my personal or campaign accounts. No forms filled out on our site. No message on personal or campaign phone. Same with tomorrow's debate and Wednesdays. They hate the People's Choice for mayor and are taking orders from Tory." Okay, and this was an image that's tweeted out, and I've seen this image tweeted out by other accounts, so it seems legit to me. I don't have a source for Tory's. It says for immediate release September 12th at the top there, but I couldn't actually find it, so I'm still looking for it. But and I'll add the link in the description as soon as I find it. I just wanted to get this video done because, as I said, the other part of this video is a story in and of itself. So okay, quote, "Mayor Tory is committed to ensuring local democracy in campaign debates." Quote, "Mayor John Tory called on all organizers of campaign debates to respect local democracy by including more candidates in the discussion. Debates are a vital part of any election campaign, and I welcome the opportunity to engage in a constructive discussion with my opponents," says Mayor Tory. "Diversity, our strength, is not just a slogan, but a promise that we live by in this city. A number of candidates running for mayor have been working hard from the very outset of this race and represent communities or causes that are underrepresented at times. Their voices deserve to be heard. Open, inclusive, and democratic debates have always been a priority for John Tory. In 2014, he participated in more than 60 campaign debates, many of which included 4 or more mayoral candidates. The mayor is ready and willing to debate any candidate who does not have a history of spreading hate speech or bigotry." Huh. Okay, so who defines hate speech and who defines bigotry? And so this is back to me. This is me now. So we've had a sliding scale. It used to be okay to have a position on Islam, or a position on suicide bombings, or a position on certain other things as well, and like white people. And that sliding scale has changed. So what's the statute of limitations on hate speech? Who gets to define hate speech and bigotry? I'm not sure that statement is easily quantified. I'm not going to debate anybody who I think has said hate speech or bigotry. So yeah, that's a catch-all that I can just say no, and then accuse you while saying no of hate speech and bigotry. So I think that's an interesting catch-all. I think that's a really clever way to pigeonhole anybody who you want to dismiss, anybody who you're maybe afraid of. Potentially, like you don't want their ideas heard and stuff. So let's have a look. Miss Goldy attempting to, there's 3 different camera angles.
Yes, unique question.
Good morning. Sorry, I must have missed my invitation mail. My name's Faith Goldy.
I'm sorry, you can't.
Let Faith debate. Let Faith debate. Let Faith debate. Debate. Let Faith 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 debate.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. We cannot allow you to disrupt this arts debate.
Let Faith debate. Let Faith debate. Let Faith debate. Let Faith debate. Let Faith debate. Let Faith debate. Let Faith debate. Let Faith debate. Let Faith debate.
You don't cut it down, you can have to leave.
Let Faith debate. Let Faith debate.
Do you want to get escorted out, or do you want to cut it out?
Let Faith debate.
To get this debate off the ground, it's the first debate for a city.
No, cut it there because I just wanted you to hear him being threatened. Like, if you don't cut it out, you're going to be thrown out. Okay, this is a different angle.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. We cannot allow you to disrupt this
Let
arts
Faith
debate.
debate. Let Faith 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 debate.
We're going to
Let
move
Faith
anybody
debate.
who is disrupting this debate out of the theater.
Let Faith debate.
Okay? This is very important. Volunteers have worked very, very hard to get this debate.
Okay, and last View.
Let faith speak. Let faith speak.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. We cannot allow you to disrupt this arts debate. Thank you. Thank you.
Let faith speak. Let faith speak.
And then we're going to move anybody who's disrupting.
Communists.
Yes, sir. We support the police. We love our officers. We're the only ones out here actually talking about you guys. These guys are artsy fartsy and not letting me on the debate stage. Yeah, I know, and that's why I was presenting a petition with 5,000 signatures, sir.
Sorry about that. Okay, so here's the Mainstreet poll. Link will be in the description. Quote, John Tory leads with 61.8%. Keesmet has 25.6%. And Faith Goldy has 6% support, while 6.4% of Torontonians said they would support another candidate. Okay, that's pretty clear. Here's a bar graph, a circular bar graph. I like how they use gray and gray. Wild. So here is John Tory Watch. Tweeting out, this was John Tory's message to debate hosts, though he did not mention at Faith Goldy or any other candidate by name. For some reason, the mayor did not disclose his multiple roles at Rogers, including being among a select few who control that $30 billion media giant. And I was like, and this is another tweet talking about the handout that Tory gave that I read at the beginning of the video. So, but I read the Mayor Tory being in charge of Rogers, or at control of Rogers, and I thought, well, there's more to that story. So I looked into it, and I came up with this 2016 article, and I thought, wow, that's crazy. So the title of the article is, and it's from Now Toronto. Link will be in the description, as with everything I talk about. It says, quote, John Tory doesn't seem to get what a conflict of interest is. Tory promised to stay out of Rogers-related matters at council, but used his position as mayor to write a letter to cabinet? Well, that's different. And going down here, it says, on the afternoon of Thursday, February 4th, councillors were debating a motion from Mike Layton concerning, quote, competitive and affordable internet prices. It asked council to express its support for a July 2015 decision by the Canadian Radio, Television and Communication, or Radio and Telecommunication Commission, requiring big telecom corporations to open up the next generation networks to smaller companies at wholesale prices. Just as internet service providers like TechSavvy are now able to make use of current Bell and Rogers lines to offer their own products, the July ruling extends the conditions to the newer, higher speed infrastructure that's now being built out. And you can see the results of this. Like, we have higher speed internet options like TechSavvy. You can get 50 megabytes per second if you pay a bit more, which is great, and they offer a good service. So one of Mike Layton put forward let's support this, right? And he said, quote, so I read in the newspaper, the mayor has taken a position on the matter. Says, Councillor Janet Davis said, who wanted to understand the particular context. Assuming Davis must be mistaken, the speaker at the time reminded her of what item they were discussing. Davis, however, knew what she was talking about, so she was really clear. Unbeknownst to the speaker, Mayor John Tory had indeed taken a position. In his official capacity, he'd written a letter to the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau's cabinet, in support of Bell's petition to have the CRTC decision overturned. So the influential Rogers board member, at the very least, and I'll show you, I think he's higher than it's not higher than a board member, but it's like controlling interest board, that kind of board. Writes a letter to support overturning the CRTC's decision. When the city councilor is saying, hey, this is good for us, we should support this. That seems like a conflict of interest. Seems like a direct conflict of interest. The letter's here, and you can read it yourself. I'll read the first part. Dear Madam, he's writing the whole cabinet, right? The Minister of Innovation, Science and Economic Development, the Minister of Infrastructure and Communities, Minister of Finance, and the Minister of International Trade. Morneau and Freeland are two of those the other ones, doesn't matter at this point in time. Okay, dear madam, I write to express concern over the recent decision of the Canadian Radio, Television and Telecommunications Commission, CRTC, that could potentially impact planned investments in fiber to home and fiber to business networks in Toronto and the surrounding area. Right, there you go. He's writing to express concern in his official capacity as mayor. Here, it's on Toronto City letterhead. So that seems pretty crazy. So I wanted to understand a little bit further, and you can read the rest of the Now Toronto article. It doesn't really matter. It just shows that it's a conflict of interest, and he shouldn't have done that. But further, it goes to, I wanted to know how high up in Rogers Mr. Tory goes. So principal holders of Rogers Communication Partnership. And he is, so Mr. Tory, John Tory, is one of the members of the Control Trust. So the Rogers Control Trust is like at the pinnacle of Rogers Telecommunications, and there's a bigger chart. Hold on. Here it is. Here's the bigger chart. So the Rogers Control Trust sits there. They get voting power. They get to make decisions about everything, company direction, all that stuff, right? They're the big guys. They get. Hey, do you want to go this way or that way, right? For the company, right? And they're beholden to the bank. Like they got to pay the bills, but they're the guys who make the choices. So that seems like having the mayor of Toronto sit in that capacity seems kind of crazy. Here's an article from 2014 that kind of outlines how the Control Trust came to be and how he got onto the Control Trust. How does the mayor of Toronto get onto the Control Trust, right? How does the mayor of Toronto control a $30 billion company? That's crazy. And I didn't know about that, and I don't think is it common knowledge? Does everybody in Toronto just know that Mayor Tory is also like controlling interest, one of the controlling voting members on the Rogers Control Trust? Anyway, here it is. Quote, when it came to the future of his company, which was in essence his first child, he left little chance consulting with his closest friends, John A. Tory, the father of the mayoral candidate, and Rogers board member, John H. Tory. So this is talking about the original owner of Rogers, the man who would be king inside the ruthless battle for control of the $34 billion Rogers empire. Edward Rogers expected to run the family empire after the death of his father, Ted, but the board squeezed him out. Okay, so, and when that passage that I just read, that was talking about Ted, who died. And John A. Tory was John H. Tory's father. Okay, so the result of those consultations was the Rogers Control Trust, which would be run by Loretta, Edward, Melinda, Martha, all Rogers, a third daughter, Lisa, plus a few old friends and trusted advisors, including Horn and Tory, the former Scotiabank CEO Peter Godso, and Rogers board members Phil Lind and Thomas Hull. So that seems, again, crazy. The trust controls 91% of Rogers' Class A voting shares, making it essentially a family-run operation in line with other communication behemoths with dual-class shares like Comcast and News Corp. So that just seems wild to me, right? Is that crazy? I looked at John Tory's Wikipedia page to kind of get a sense of what he did in Rogers. From 1995 to 99, he returned to Rogers Communications, but this time as president and CEO of Rogers Media, which had become one of Canada's largest publishing and broadcasting companies. Rogers has an interest in radio and television stations, internet, specialty television stations, consumer magazines, trade magazines, and at the time, the Toronto Sun and the Sun newspaper chain. In 1999, he became president and CEO of Rogers Subsidy, Rogers Cable, which he then led through a period of transition from a monopoly environment to an open marketplace. Overseeing a significant increase in operating income, Tory stepped down after Ted Rogers announced that he would stay on as president and CEO of parent company Rogers Communication. He served as the 9th commissioner of the Canadian Football League from 1996 to 2000. So that's a pretty robust pedigree, right? My question is a pretty simple one. Is it appropriate for the mayor of Toronto to have that much media influence and control just by having that name? He's Rogers in all but name, right? So if you know that you're potentially going to piss off your boss, are you going to run a story that he doesn't want? Are you going to try and anticipate who he deems to be a person who is spreading hate speech or bigotry? I don't think I'm going to get any jobs anytime soon as a Rogers journalist. For talking about how John Tory has a controlling vote in Rogers Communication. And that's a huge, huge company. Like, just massive. Massive. And I keep missing it. But massive. Look at that. Cogeco's like just an arrow. Wild. So that's my question. Should mayors who have that much influence be able to summarily eliminate a candidate just because they say, oh yeah, that person said hate speech. Speech that I decided was hate speech. So, you don't get to talk at all. And it helps that I can pick up the phone and make sure that every single media outlet in the city will listen to me. Seems like too much power for one person. So Mayor Tory, maybe get out on the debate stage. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of?